The Duryea brothers proved that an American could do this. At the race, the Duryea-Benz race, a young man by the name of Charles Brady King from Detroit witnessed that race. He was captivated. He came back to Detroit and with the help of a German mechanic was able to put together and build the first automobile that ever rode in the city of Detroit in 1896. At the same time, of course, there were others like Henry Ford trying to get going and build an automobile. Henry Ford was not the first. Brady King was. He always wore a straw boater hat. Mr. Ford always wore a bowler. That's how you tell the two in the photographs. If it's got a straw hat on it, it isn't Henry Ford. It's Brady King. In order to really advance the automobile, you had to have roads. We had to popularize roads. Do you know who did that? Henry Joy. Henry Joy, who was of the famous Joy family, who ran Michigan Central, owned it really. The son of James Joy ends up being president of Packard Motor Car Company. He was the first person to cross the United States in an automobile and to publicize it. He was the one who advocated the first interstate highway.
All right, well, we're here now at the Packard plant, and Packard made beautiful cars, like beautiful luxury cars until the 50s. But this place, now that they've left and any other businesses that have been here since, pretty much all gone, a lot of this has been vacant for years and years and years. And if there's anything in Detroit that looks like a war zone, like bombs hit it, it's this Packard plant. Although there's certainly out in the neighborhoods a lot of vacant places and devastation, but this really is the largest example and maybe the saddest example.
During the 1967, a lot of people call it the riots. I often call it the looting sensation. Blacks burned out their own communities. So they lost a lot of the shopping, the markets, the little grocery stores, the corner stores. They lost the sense of respect. They lost the sense of a family. They lost the sense of it takes a village to raise a child.
Early in the morning around 7:30, go to El George's at the corner of Schaefer and 6 Mile, you know, and entertain myself with tradesmen and people that I see every day. Get me a hot chocolate or some tea. I don't drink much coffee no more. I keep a steady movement.
How you doing, school? You all right?
Yeah, and treat people the way I want to be treated, and go wherever I want to go in Detroit. I don't have a problem with being messed with or nothing, because just stay on the move, watch your back, keep your eyes open, and be prepared for war at peacetime, and everything goes okay. Where my house was, out there where them cars at, is where I bought my first house, 4081 Duane, back in 1961. And I was 23 years old at the time. Then I bought a restaurant around the corner here, Elmhurst, Martindale. And that was in 67, and in 68 the riot came. Got quite a few buildings, stores, jewelry stores. A lot of Jewish people had nice stuff up and down 12th Street, all the way from here to 6 Mile. Right. I bought a restaurant around the corner here, Elmhurst, Martindale. My restaurant was right here in this big vacant lot, all the way from the corner to the alley. was Darby's Drive-In. Yeah. Well, I kind of like Detroit. I don't find that much wrong with Detroit, you know, other than a lot of people had to move because they lost their jobs. But by me being older, the jobs wasn't that important no more. You know, I don't find a problem with dealing with the cities. It's just that I'd rather live in the country than I would in the cities. But now, since I got so much to deal with in the city, my family and grandkids and everything, I just stay close by so I don't have to drive 30 miles here and 40 miles there. But other than that, no, I haven't considered moving out of Detroit at all.
I remember always wanting to move to a small town, next to a coffee house, where I could enjoy sliding wooden chair legs, clinking china, and rising steam all tethered together by the flowing voice of some traveling poet. And I remember the day I realized I couldn't leave my city no matter how many flaws it has. Every day I contemplate the best way to fit drawn out personal theories about why my neighborhood is filled with overgrown vacant fields into 3 minutes and 10 seconds. See, slam is easy. Saying something important is hard. Drawing memories of my city's forgotten pulse and turning it into something worth finding again is hard, like realizing my city is still beautiful when the people around me toss Molotov cocktails through windows during 3 a.m. street fights. They hold dirty looks as if I took their freedom. I wake up to 9mm shells in my front yard. Welcome to my city. Beauty isn't obvious, but anger beats at our front doors like police giving a last warning. I scream hatred over city limits, hoping lost residents will hear me. I am one of the faithful citizens, rooted like flagpoles, writing love poems to my city, no matter how many dark alleys I tread through or potholes that I damn near swim in.
Detroit has become a bit of a punchline in this country, but you have to ask yourself, how did one of the wealthiest cities in the country become this?
We went there to actually just examine the city and, of course, the history of the mayors and the policies in Detroit and found something that was really a tragedy. What you see is what you get with the video.
The news is saying things the way they want it to be, and then when you chastise them or something, they won't admit when they're wrong. They always just keep lying over their lies. They just tell lies all the time. Love you, Lindsay. But the best thing to do if you're educated is to find what's going on and know the difference between right and wrong and the truth. Yeah, the media have a lot to do with making our city look bad.
I'd say that downtown Detroit's had a real nice rebound since the year 2000. And again, we're just talking about downtown Detroit. Billions have been spent. That includes the casinos, but also more importantly maybe the baseball stadium, the football stadium, where they also have concerts. There's that Campus Martius Park in front of the nice CompuWare building in the center of downtown. There's that Riverwalk. There's been renovations, like the Book Cadillac Hotel was standing there vacant for 25 years, and now after $200 million, that's back as the Westin, or the Westin Book Cadillac.
It is heavy, heavy, real heavy. And we're back, brother, like barbershop crisp high-top fades and kicks, in the barbed bosom of the city that harbored us, hardened us and made us shine, with smoke on its skyline, tectonic plate-like shifting pavement, and steel in its breath. We're on the I-75 and I'm shotgunning your Chevy. It is heavy, heavy, real heavy.
All right, well right now we're at the former Brewster Douglas projects. And it's pretty sad how it's all vacant and derelict at this point. Back in the day, and you've got the 2 stories from 1942 as well as the 6 stories from 1942, and then it was in 1952 when they did these 14-story buildings, and this was, you know, a place to live, not a bad place to live. Diana Ross and the Supremes, Flo Ballard, Mary Wells, they all grew up here, so, you know, it was Mary Wilson, excuse me. Got to get my Supreme straight. But, you know, for something that housed a lot of people between these 2 stories, 6 stories, and then the 6 14-story towers, there's a lot of people out there who either still remember growing up here, or, you know, their parents grew up here or something, and now this part of Detroit, you know, probably these buildings might all be raised, and, you know, maybe we'll have something new taking up this space. Okay. So actually Brewster projects that are vacant, and then the Brush Park neighborhood, which is partly occupied and partly vacant. They're both sort of in the shadow of Comerica Park and Ford Field. The reason it's called Brush Park is because of Brush Street going through here, and then Brush Street goes right between the brand new baseball stadium, brand new football stadium, you know, so you can actually walk from here, you know, spend $100 on a ticket and walk from here. We're at the Heidelberg Project, and it's pretty much one man's response to the decline of Detroit's neighborhoods. Someone named Tyree Guyton, who lived on Heidelberg Street and grew up here, he became an artist and he saw how his neighborhood declined, and I think since the 80s he's been turning this street into an art project, and it sort of spilled over onto the next street and across the next main street. A lot of different houses are decorated, each in a different way, with polka dots or with something else or something else. A lot of things with stuffed animals, a lot of things with discarded shoes, and there's a couple other artists. There's someone named Tim Burke who's also got a gallery here, and they brought in another artist, Lisa Marie Gutierrez, I think is her name, and they bring in kids and they teach them about art. So it actually has gotten better and better. You know, some people are skeptical about it, but some people just totally love this place. And then another thing that's been good in terms of progress is the Riverwalk. And for now, it's mostly the East Riverwalk from, I guess, about Joe Louis Arena over to where Hart Plaza is and the Renaissance Center, and then further east, pretty much all the way to Belle Isle. And they're finishing that up over the next few years. It's been about $300 million that's been spent so far, and there's definitely going to be additional, you know, $100 million or more to finish it up. And it's just great for people to enjoy the river. As much as we've got Belle Isle for years and years and years as a way to enjoy the river, the Riverwalk is just a nice way to walk along the river and walk your dog and ride bikes, and it's just a great addition to Detroit.
I would love to see our downtown get back to where it was. I mean, we had Hudson's, the big stores, Crowley's, you just name them. We had those stores that were really doing great business. I would love to see more retail come back into the city. I think that would help us a whole lot.
There's also a vibe where there's young people that want to live downtown. Some of them are employed by Quicken Loans, and certainly Dan Gilbert gets a lot of credit for buying buildings and moving people down here and helping to create a good vibe down here. And with Detroit Urban Adventures, there's one tour that I give that's called Detroit's Rise, Fall, and Renewal. That's a real popular tour. People are interested in glory days of Detroit, and then what happened to Detroit, and then also how we're doing now. So by 1920, Detroit was the 4th biggest city in the U.S. It had 1 million people living in the city, and it was also, I think, the wealthiest per capita. People had good jobs here, on average made good money, and it had a nickname, the city did, the Paris of the Midwest. It was a beautiful city. So, as we know, the old Paradise Valley is basically gone, and that one historic marker said that the last 3 structures were demolished some years ago. I think when they were setting about building Ford Field. but they decided there should be something as a nod, at least, to the old Paradise Valley, besides the little historic marker that they have over there by Ford Field. And this is, you know, a district that has a park and this building that's sort of committed to, you know, African American arts and music and culture. So when you do check out the Virgil Carr Cultural Arts Center, it's clear that Paradise Valley is not just part of Detroit's past, but it's part of Detroit's present. There's this nice art gallery on the first floor, I think a temporary display, but up on the second floor, oh my gosh, they've got some of these beautiful paintings that have Malcolm X, Paul Robeson, that have Cab Calloway as a nod to the entertainers that came to the Paradise Valley places. There's actually a lynching quilt there that shows the different states and the people who, you know, died of lynchings and beatings in those states too. There's a lot, and there were rehearsals as we were up there for some dance performance too. So definitely it's a current place, it's a thriving place, it's a nice place for events of all sort, or just for the galleries that they have going on.
It is heavy, heavy, real heavy, with coney dogs and strip malls where back from both coasts with peacoats and stubble. But it is different. We are older, from here, of here, fed here, Detroit bred here, but left here.
And I think we'll have a better city if we was more involved with the youngsters staying busy and active and being educated. I think that's the biggest thing that we're missing in the city of Detroit. We could do a lot more for our kids, your kids, anybody's kids. And matter of fact, I love kids so much. I deal with mostly because older people, they don't act like they won't even hear you talk. They chasing the dollar so much. They're not normal. You know? Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Detroit was ranked the angriest city in America, and we should be angry. Our communities are isolated, unity dissected by freeways. We can't be linked together by overpasses, so artists graffiti turbulence against abandoned walls, hoping will lead someone to see our gaping wounds. Poets spill blood on stage, wage war. We are a militia, breaking myths outsiders created. Detroit is more than riots and bankrupt car companies, but America believes Detroit is just another dot on its map, believes our potential is buried, forgetting everything that grows starts underground. We are not fighting each other, but we are fighting to be the first ones to sprout like palm trees in the dead of winter, to be something extraordinary.
There has been some progress in some neighborhoods out there, whether it's tearing down abandoned homes or taking vacant lots and doing sort of new houses on those vacant lots to sort of create a neighborhood that's got enough people living in it, sort of a mix of old and new.
I can remember a time where downtown Detroit on a Friday night would be empty, with no one. Before campus marches, before copyware, before the Ursula building. I remember when all those buildings up along Woodward were vacant.
We became Detroit when we learned that mountainous skylines and upper-class neighborhoods aren't what make our city thrive. Our pulse is in the rhythm of summer festivals. It thrives when subwoofers loud enough to set off car alarms. We saw business suits and briefcases for rest in peace shirts and dog chains. We don't have to be Hollywood or some peaceful suburb to take pride in the streets we have built. When we unite, you will remember that we have been waiting patiently in the corner of your palm. This is more than just a performance. These are words to a better Detroit, a reason to believe that my fury will never burn in vain.
You can come downtown Detroit. It is now becoming a destination.